We will need a little bit of notes, nothing crazy. Okay, so an inequality are these. These are what is an inequality. Like these little alligator mouths type things. Those are inequalities. Okay? Oh, I guess I could have left it up there. Okay, now the only note. What you doing? This ain't your first game here?
He was on Instagram where he was
Okay, the only notes part that you need, really, is this. Okay, notice how these ones don't have a line underneath of them? Yes? Okay, when the ones that don't have a line underneath them, they're going to be an open dot. And the ones that do have a line under them are going to be a closed dot. Huh? So, like, the ones they got a line underneath of it, so like, yeah, and that one doesn't. Close. Okay, so on the front page is very easy, other than figuring out which way to draw, which to me is the hardest part for most of you guys. Okay, so we're going to go to the -2 on the number line. Okay, and should this be an open or closed dot? Open. So go to the -2 and make an open dot on the -2. Okay, now there are a couple of ways to do the reading part. Okay, now the first way is, and people have like, their teacher has told them if the mouth is facing this way, the arrow goes this way. Now that is not entirely true. Okay, at all is it true. Let's just be perfectly clear. Okay, the reason that that is not true, okay, and that's the hardest thing, is for you guys to break that habit, and you're like, oh, the line goes this way because my teacher said it goes this way. Yeah, no. Okay, the line only goes that way if and only if your letter is on the left-hand side of the inequality sign. Okay, so what I do is you can either read it from the letter, okay, to the number. Are we going to touch the small part of the mouth first, meaning this is the small part, okay, or the big part? Small. Small. So which way is going smaller, negatives or positives? Negatives. The other way to look at it is this, okay? If you were to draw a line on both sides of this arrow, okay, which way, because the sign is like this, yes? If you were to draw a line like this, is that how we draw an arrow?
No.
Or is this how we draw an arrow?
Yeah.
Okay, and so that kind of matches up with whatever way you need to go. Okay, so whatever way you can read through these to navigate and figure out which way your line needs to go is totally fine by me. Okay, look at number 3. On the 6, is that going to be open or closed? Closed. So go to the 6 and make a closed dot. Okay, now think about it. You don't have to draw it, but just think in your head. Okay, is it going to be going to the left or to the right? Okay, and again, if you're not sure, you can add a little line on this arrow. Okay, which way does an arrow look like? Okay, so an arrow looks like this way. Okay, or you can look from the letter to the number. Are you touching the small or big part of the mouth first? Okay, number 5, on the -4, is that going to be open or closed? It's going to be closed. Okay, it's going to be closed. And if you were to read this, really it says N is, are we touching the smaller part or the bigger part first? Smaller. So which way is smaller, negatives or positives? Negative, so it's got to go this way. Yeah.
Do I need caps?
No, you're fine. Okay, look at number 7. Okay, first of all, I'm going to write my problem down here. Okay, we need to solve for x. So what is by x that needs to be moved? The 6 or the 17? The 6. How do I move a minus 6? Add. So we're going to add 6 on both sides. Okay, so we're going to say plus 6, plus 6. Okay, everything else is going to drop down. What is negative 17 plus 6?
Negative 11.
Negative 11. Okay, now, here's what I can tell you. If you get a number, say we got 20. No, 100. Is 100 on that graph? No. Okay, so the graph kind of does narrow it down for you a little bit. Okay, if it's not anywhere on your graph, then it ain't right. Okay, so on the 11, is that going to be open or closed? Open. Okay, so on negative 11, it's going to be right here. It's going to be open. Okay, and then from the x to the sign, so x is, are we touching the smaller or bigger part of the mouth first? The smaller. Which way is smaller? Going negatives or going positives? Negative. So it's got to go this way. Okay, look at number 9. Okay, what needs moved? The 7. How do I move a minus 7? Add 7 to both sides. Okay, what is negative 19 plus 7? Negative 12. Okay, so on the negative 12, is that going to be open or closed? It's going to be closed. So go to the negative 12 and put a closed dot. Okay, and then this says we're going to read from the B to the number. So B is, are you touching the smaller part or the bigger part first? Smaller. Which way is smaller, negatives or positives? Negatives. Okay, number 11. What needs moved? The 6. How do I move a minus 6? Plus 6 on both sides. Okay, what is negative 15 plus 6? Negative 9. Okay, should that be open or closed? Open. On the negative 9 should be an open dot. Okay, and then we read from the N to the letter. So N is what? Which part of the mouth am I touching first? The bigger or smaller? Bigger. Okay, so what's bigger? Negatives or positives? Positive. So it's got to go this way. Okay, 13. What needs done first? What needs moved? What needs moved first? The 16. We always move stuff to the right. Okay, so what kind of problem is this right now? It's division. So what's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So we're going to times both sides by 16. Okay, that way these guys cancel. What is negative 7 times 16? negative 112. Okay, so on the negative 112, okay, should that be open or closed?
Closed.
Closed.
I have a question just to verify real quick.
You're gonna have to wait. Okay, X is what? Which part of the mouth am I gonna be touching first?
Closed.
No. Well, it is closed, but
Just small.
the smaller, okay? Which way is smaller? Negatives or positives? Negatives, so it's gotta go this way. What's up, bud?
So, if you're dividing by negative, does the sign change?
It does. Well,
That's
it
what I
is
thought.
multiplication as well.
Multiplication as well?
Yes.
Let me go back and check.
Okay, 15, I got n over 19. Okay. What needs moved?
19.
The 19. How do I move it?
Multiply.
Multiply. Okay, we're going to multiply both sides by 19. Okay, what is 20 times 19?
378.
You sure?
380.
380?
Yeah.
388.
380. Okay, so on the 380, should that be open or closed up? Closed, good. Okay, so it should definitely be closed. If we're going from the end to the sign, N is, are we going to touch the bigger part of the mouth or the smaller part first?
Open.
Bigger. Okay, so which way is bigger, negatives or positives? Positives. Okay, so we need all of the bigger numbers. Okay, 17, here's where the rules start to change a tiny bit, okay? When we multiply or divide by a negative, only multiply or divide, you have to flip the sign. And we'll talk about what that looks like, okay? So 17, other than that, there's really no difference going on, okay? So I got negative 10b and that 190, okay? Well, again, how do I move this? We gotta divide, okay? So when they're right next to each other like that, that 10 and that b, they're kind of squished together, there's no sign in between. That means times. So we're gonna divide by negative 10 on both sides, okay? Now, what is 190 divided by negative 10?
19.
Negative 19, okay? Now, we're not looking at the 19 being negative. Okay, notice how I divided everything by negative 10. That's what dictates whether we flip or not, okay? So notice how the sign is like this, the alligator mouth is going this way. We need to now turn him to go this way, okay? That's the only difference. Okay, and really what that does is if you forget to do that, it's not the end of the world. The only change it's gonna make is which way your line's going, whether your line's going this way or this way. But your dot should still be your dot. Even if you forgot to flip, okay? You would still do a closed dot on 19, okay? You guys, it'll mess up the direction of your line, which is not the end of the world. Okay, so this says B is what part of the mouth are we touching first?
Closed. Or the small one.
Small, okay? Which way is smaller, negatives or positives? Negatives, so it's gonna be going this way.